Welcome to Angola, one of the few Portuguese-speaking countries in the world. Blessed with oil, the country's capital, Luanda, has skyscrapers covering the city. But hold on, what's this? The most expensive city in the world? Luanda? Beating Hong Kong, Zurich, and Singapore? The average Angolan only makes $27 a day. So how is this possible? Well, it's not. I'll get to that a bit later. But why is Luanda so expensive? Well, I was kind of lying. The average Angolan only makes $2 a day. Well, let's look back. Angola, devastated by its 26-year-old civil war that ended in 2002, could finally start rebuilding again. But as you could guess, there was nothing to build off of, meaning no supply. Though it has a railway connecting to Zambia, and by extension Tanzania via the Tazara Railway, though it has a connection to the DRC, who probably wouldn't be our first trading partner. So importing it is, with cargo coming far and wide, Brazil, Portugal, China, and America. Crossing thousands of kilometers of ocean, Luanda became the most expensive city in the world. Alright, but what about the money that Angola was buying imports with? Well, oil money. Oil off of the coast was starting to be extracted and Angola's GDP grew six-fold in 6 years, with a peak of 23% GDP growth. Alright, so Angolans must have been living pretty well, right? Well, one problem. GDP doesn't account to where the money is going, but only where it's made. Angola has a really low production per person. Most of its oil exports are unrefined oil, meaning that it's completely raw. Angola doesn't really have much of an industry, mainly digging oil off the ground and exporting it abroad. After the civil war, Angola practically had nothing, abysmal infrastructure and no production. Having been a major exporter of coffee and cotton, it now imports 80% of its consumer goods. Well, you're probably asking, why? Why hasn't Angola solved its pricing problem? The country has an abundant amount of oil. 90% of the country's income comes from black gold. Well, behind the shiny skyscrapers and luxury apartments, the true Angola is unmasked. Mismanagement and corruption. Ramshackle shantytowns and slums spreading for miles throughout the city's numerous cities, with people living on less than $2 a day. Lacking basic necessities like electricity and water. For a country that makes its income from oil, why? So, where the hell is Angola's oil money going? Angola's oil business is mostly tied to NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, meaning everything is under the hood. So it's impossible to see how much money is going into Sonangol, Angola's state oil company. Sonangol produces 1.75 million barrels a day, which of course, if we multiply at the end of the year, we make billions. So, where do you think the oil money is going? It goes to infrastructure projects. In reality, tens of billions of dollars have completely skipped Angola's central bank and have been embezzled. This money has generated a massive slush fund for the country's elite. Also, to add that Angola has only had 3 presidents in its history, if that adds any context. So, Angola's government rejects any allegations of corruption. Do with that info what you will. The remainder of the money goes to paying back loans, which Angola owes a lot, and I mean a lot. Having $50 billion in public debt, which it mostly owes to international organizations and China, which accounts for $20 billion, which are from infrastructure projects which mainly underperform or go unfinished, often because of corruption schemes. What you've finally been waiting for. Why do jeans cost $250 in the city? It all comes down to money for the elites. After the economic boom, Angola had no interest in making progress in other sectors. Instead, it decided to lock in on oil, so to buy produce it looked abroad. And with tons of ships flowing through the congested port of Luanda and Angola's awkward position when it comes to shipping routes, price tags inflate. So from its production in France, to bureaucratic paperwork and its journey across the ocean, to Angolan fees and tariffs, an extra cost because the supermarket isn't going to take a loss. The Angolan Häagen-Dazs gets its $17 price tag. But why doesn't the Angolan government do anything about it? Because it's profitable. All the import fees and the VAT made on sales are going straight to the government, and by extension, the country's elite. And why they invest into domestic production? They're going to lose money. The port of Luanda is slow, plagued with long waiting times, high tariffs, and the lack of competition. And with it being the country's main port, it doesn't help that it is severely bottlenecked. The average Angolan can't afford any of these luxuries, with most of the elites using the dollar and the general populace stuck with the kwanza. Okay, but all of this was for expats, but it's still interesting. There's a second part about Jermaine Chad. If it's not out yet, go check out my other videos. Like and subscribe, and if you have any thoughts, express them in the comments. So, will Luanda's prices go down? Well, it's up to the Angolans after all. But the future, we can only tell.